Evolve is an asymmetrical multiplayer game where one of you plays as the monster, while the other 4 team up to hunt you down. Similar to the classic Pac-Man, the monster traverses the environment, killing smaller creatures and eating them to evolve to become more powerful, while the other hunters try to stop him. This core has been built upon by Turtlerock Studios, the creators of the widely acclaimed Left 4 Dead series, to produce a thrilling multiplayer experience, which is even better with friends. Evolve is predominantly a multiplayer game. While there is a single player element where you learn how to play each of the 4 classes and the monsters against bots, it's nothing more than a glorified tutorial. If you aren't into multiplayer games, then unfortunately this isn't for you. The main game type is Hunt. Assuming you're playing as a hunter, you get dropped into an environment with the objective to hunt down the monster, before it does the same to you. Although the monster is relatively weak at first, it's still powerful enough to deal with the most disorganised of teams. To complete its objective, the monster must travel around the map, killing other creatures and devouring them to become stronger, eventually evolving into a greater beast. Stronger both in health and damage. When fully evolved, the monster's objective is to destroy the power relay at the centre of the map, all the unfortunate souls that are trying to protect it. With good players filling all the positions, this can be a thrilling experience which no other game provides. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out like that, which can be very frustrating. Especially when your trapper is clueless how to track a good monster player and you end up running around the map for ages to try and get your first glimpse. There is a steep initial learning curve with both the hunters and the monsters, which is often punished as you play in competitive PvP games. But once you realise the synergy between abilities and teammates themselves, it becomes a vastly better experience. Although, Evolve can't guarantee you good teammates. There is a second game type, Evacuation, for the players that want a little more of a change from the typical hunt scenario. This is a 5-part series of games, where each game counts, with the winner of each gaining a small buff to take into the next game. These buffs are useful, but don't give the winning side an overpowering advantage. The types of matches you'll find include the typical hunt mission, Nest, where the hunters are required to destroy 6 eggs around the map while the monster defends them, Rescue, where the survivors are scattered around the map and the hunters have to get them to a rescue point before the monster gets to them, and lastly Defend, which plays similar to a tower defense game where the monster, aided by computer controlled minions, has to destroy 3 objectives while the hunters try to stop them. This is a nice touch and can be especially good for players on for a long period of time, but the majority of players will stick to the quick hunt mode. I would have liked to have the option to play these other modes in quick games, just to have a little variation in the menu. Hopefully this could be something that gets implemented at a later date. The team of hunters comprise of 4 different classes, each with their own specific abilities, which used correctly brings a great synergy to the team. The trapper is the most valuable member of the squad. The first character you have, Maggie, brings a trapjaw with her that tracks the monster's footprints and heals down characters. The most important asset she has is the mobile arena, which brings a massive dome down around her, which is used to trap the monster inside for a limited time and ensures the combat takes place when the hunters want it. As the Assault, you are provided with an arsenal which enables you to be the main damage dealer. The initial character, Markov, has a limited time shield to get right up close with his high damage lightning gun. The medic's role is simple, keeping everyone alive. Val also has some key abilities aside from this, such as tranquilizing darts, which slow and highlight the monster, and her armor-piercing sniper rifle, which produce highlighted areas for her teammates to deal extra damage. The last of the hunters is the support, whose role is to help deal damage and keep allies alive. Hank's main tool of the trade is his shield projector, which is used to keep the targeted ally from taking damage. When he needs to deal damage, his laser cutter is the choice weapon, but also has the ability to nuke the area with an orbital barrage. As the monster, the player needs to balance putting distance between themselves and the hunters while finding food in order to level up. Having good map knowledge and mastering the monster's non-combat abilities, such as climbing, sneaking, and sniffing around, is essential to victory. The first of the monsters, the Goliath, is the one the game is based around initially. It is a great hulking beast which feels powerful with each step and attack it deals. a ground-based monster capable of dealing massive AoE damage through its fire breath and leap smash. He feels great to control, agile and quick enough to escape or jump right into the fray. The second monster unlocked is the Kraken, which departs a little from the aggressive in-your-face combat of the Goliath. You spend your time flying around the map, aiming lightning strikes and bombs at your opponents. It'll suit the player that likes to feel a little more in control of the situation with ranged attacks. Lastly, there is the Wraith. This monster takes that stealth gameplay to another level, picking off hunters with powerful attacks rather than jumping straight into the fray. This monster can take a little less punishment than the others, so planning your attacks carefully and using abduction to take a hunter away from his teammates to kill, or throw out a decoy to help keep them occupied while you make a tactical retreat. Each of the monsters takes a little getting used to, but once you've found the one that suits your playstyle, you'll enjoy matching up your skills against the 4 other players. To be a successful monster, it requires both patience and skill, where victory is achieved by outsmarting the opponents, making ripping them to shreds as satisfying as it sounds. Each of the playable characters has a mastery system, where you can unlock buffs to your abilities, more characters, and skins as you progress the game. However, this system seemed flawed initially to me, as you have to do a set amount with every ability in order to unlock the next bonus. I found it to be extremely detrimental to teamwork, especially when playing as the healer. I was focused more on hitting the monster a certain amount of times with the tranquilizer gun in order to achieve the unlock, rather than healing my allies. This is probably an unwanted grind for the other players, especially with wanting to get the other playable characters unlocked. Hopefully the buffs unlocked later in the mastery trees won't make them overpowered. While each of the 15 environments look gorgeous, making excellent use of CryEngine 4, there are many dangers that await each of the players. Elite creatures roam around the map, which deal a lot of damage to all parties. Although, some do end up giving temporary buffs to the player, which adds to the element of risk-reward. For the monster, flocks of birds are in various locations, which unless snuck past, end up drawing attention to your location. As for the hunters, even the flora may end up eating you, and maybe trying to avoid going near that rock. Evolve does many things really well, but the biggest talking point before the game was released, and until now, was their DLC plans. Many people were outraged by the way 2K has set out its plans for future content, especially with 4 hunters and a monster that came with the game being locked to pre-orders or people paying at release. For most players, limiting the vanilla copy of the game this way felt a little cheated. We will have to wait and see how this affects the game in the future when you can pay for hunters and monsters and how long the player base will last. Overall, I found the game to be a bit Jekyll and Hyde. When the game is at its best, with good teammates and great knowledge of the mechanics, Evolve is a tense, challenging and deeply rewarding multiplayer experience. The synergy between the characters and abilities, along with strategy and communication, bring the simplest of concepts to a thrilling encounter. At its worst, it's a deeply frustrating and repetitive experience, with its fairly steep initial learning curve and uncooperative teammates doing their own thing and ruining the experience. It would have been nicer to have a variety of quick game types available from the start, rather than having to head into the vastly unplayed evacuation mode just for anything other than hunt. Evolve has a great concept, I just feel that its potential wasn't fully utilised. As time goes on, and the quality of the players improves, there will be even more exciting games. But for me, it's not a game I could sit and play for hours at a time, but I do enjoy popping on for a quick game or two.